Hi, and welcome to the BookishStitcher podcast. My name is Jeanette. You can find me on Ravelry, Instagram, and Goodreads as BookishStitcher, all one word. I hope you guys have had a wonderful 2 weeks since I podcasted. I took the last weekend, Memorial Day weekend, off from podcasting. This is normally a weekly podcast. I took it off to go and spend some time with my best friend because she is getting ready, her and her family, to move to Chile. And so it was just wonderful to get to see her and talk to her and just you know those people that you're just so comfortable around that you have a grin on your face the entire time and you're hysterically laughing 90% of the time. So that was just wonderful. And it was great because I was telling her, I don't know if we're gonna be, I kind of got up the courage to tell her, I don't know if we're gonna be able to come down and like live in Chile and get to visit you half the year. And she was like, if you can't get to me, then I will come back to you as often as I can. And that will probably be easier, hopefully get to see her again, because they coming to visit other people versus us trying to get down to Chile. So yeah, it was just a wonderful weekend, and thank you everyone to all the encouragement and nice notes that you sent me about not worrying about taking off for that precious time I got to spend with my best friend. And I don't know if you can hear, but I waited because outside there is a thunderstorm and it's raining. And so I always love to podcast when it's raining. There's actually this cross stitch that I found on Etsy. It has an umbrella and raindrops. And it says, the best thing in everyone's life is rain. So I think I need to make that over the summer. And I'm just having some coffee. But let me get into what I finished. So I've kind of been working on a ton of different things and getting several inches, but not actually finishing up much. But I do have one finished object and one almost, and I'll show you. So this is my Barley Hat by Tin Can Knits. Tin Can Knits was the designer that I did for May. And this is a hat for homeless charity. And it was done out of some Spartacus dyes in the, I think, Willy Wonka, it's like a Willy Wonka candy flavor yarn colorway. It's designed to look like, a whole bunch of different candy colors. And can you hear the thunder? I hope you can. But so it was the hat was designed to be really good for variegated yarn, and I think it breaks it up beautifully. You can see the back there, and I really enjoyed that. And then this is almost done, but it's like I fought the yarn chicken and the yarn chicken won. So I should stop doing this because this always happens to me, but I will grab a scrap out of my scrap bin and think, that looks like enough to make a hat or a baby hat or something, or this project, and I never win that yarn chicken, and I always end up with more scraps because you started a project to use up a scrap, but then you have to buy a skein and you end up with a bigger scrap because you just need a little bit. So this is the Gather hat by Tin Can Knits, and this pattern was so sweetly gifted to me 2 years ago by my friend Kiki Lucy. Tin Can Knits was doing like free patterns for the day, and she sent me some of the free ones, which was really sweet because I didn't know that Tin Can Knits even did that. But this is the Gather hat, and I am knitting up some baby hats. I have a whole bunch of scraps that I got out to do a whole bunch of baby Gather hats for a whole bunch of friends that are having babies because I love baby knits, and this is great. So the not great thing is that I've run out of yarn only a couple rows into the decreases for the hat, and that's not great for a baby's head, right? It's a giant hole in the top. But luckily, I dye yarn, right? So I had some, this is DK, and this is such an old scrap, I have no idea what this yarn even is. But I have some DK yarn left over from knitting my best friend's sweater, and it's in a bear, and I believe I have a kind of a golden orange color that will work perfectly for this. I might not be able to get it exactly dyed to the exact color, but it will be better than like throwing in a red or a cream or something and completely not making it match. I'm hoping that I can get it pretty close, and then if I need to, I could even over dye the whole thing so it would be even closer color wise. But the Gather hat has these fun little stitches that make it to where the knits and pearls are gathered in a way, and I think it'll be beautiful when it's blocked out. But I'm knitting these on some of my marbles needles, and it's a lot of fun. I also have a red scrap in what feels to be the same yarn, so I might try to dye up some more of that bear yarn for my friend's sweater and do another hat. And I gave my best friend her sweater and it fit perfectly. Isn't that the best when you give somebody a gift of like a sweater, a giant garment, and it fits them? And you know, I knew that she had shorter arms like I do. I knew that she's 2 inches shorter than I am. I know that it's funny. I knew that she's a little. I wasn't sure, like, because I hadn't seen her a little bit, how like how much smaller she was than me. I knew she was a little bit smaller, but she was like very close to me. And we were talking about that, how we need to like start exercising again and going out, like kind of, we're gonna try to motivate each other and kind of take walks while maybe Skyping or something like that. It should be fun, because she and I were both saying that we need to kind of get back into the whole fitness and stuff, and she juices a lot, so we maybe get back into that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that's the gather hat. And then so many whips. Let me show you another tin can knits whip. So this is in a Girl So Sheepy bag, which I love. It's so pretty. And the back is just this like very light aqua. This is the Raindrops pattern by Tin Can Knits, and I'm knitting it for my daughter. Just have a tiny little cake left, and then luckily I have a second skein, and this is in the Moon Rover sock, and it's their wild base in the light-hearted colorway. And it is awesome because Jody, Mrs. Brown's Bags, sent me a skein of this as like a thank you when I did some shopping for her years ago for mustache yarn, and I had a skein of this already, so it's a perfect amount now to make my daughter a sweater. So I'm going to try to use up as much of the yarn as I can, and that's what it looks like so far. Last time you saw this 2 weeks ago, I was right where this little cute little owl that Knitting in France gave me. So I added about 4 or 5 inches, and I'm gonna keep going for another 4 or 5, kind of make it tunic length now and longer sleeves so that she can get, that's what I like to do with my daughter's garments, is make her a couple and make them a little bit oversized, like an inch or 2 longer in the body or something, so she can wear them longer. She can wear it as a long sleeve, then a 3/4 length sleeve, and the body of the sweater will still be able to fit her. So that one is there. I don't know if anybody else likes this, but I love when the cakes get tiny, watching them just disappear. I'm like, disappear, because with every round, several of these, you know, strings off the yarn get smaller and smaller. That's the Raindrops. There's kind of a rain, it's raining outside. This is the Raindrop sweater. There's some other yarn that has rain, so it's a happy Jeanette day because I absolutely love the rain. And so then next, in a Diana Couture bag, this is some Fishnets in their Canadiana colorway, and it is meant to, see if I can get the tag. It is meant to look like those blankets. And since it's just 400 yards and they're socks for my husband, I've decided to just knit a giant tube and then split it in half and kind of make, you know, it's the pattern that I'm originally doing was the Smooth Operator by Susan B. Anderson, but I'm kind of turning it into a Smooth Operator plus Afterthought toes. But last time you guys saw this, I was right here, and then I put this one in for how much I've done this week. So last week I only did like 2 inches on it, and then my sweet friend Betty gave me this at knitting yesterday, a little skein in the Big Wool Progress Keeper. So this week I have knit from here to here, so a lot more knitting on this week. I'm trying to, you know, just work on it, and I'm really starting to get into the groove with the 9-inch circs. Last summer I did a sock needle experiment where I just got a whole bunch of sock needles and tried them all out, and I remember not liking the 9-inch circulars at first, but now I hold them differently. I found a way to hold them that works really well for me, to where instead of trying to have it like all my fingers lined up, I tuck these 2 fingers. I don't know if this will help anybody or if anybody cares, but I tuck these 2 fingers at the end underneath, like this, underneath the other 2 fingers. And that's how I hold it, so that there are just 2 fingers on top instead of trying to knit with like 4. I tuck them underneath, and that has made a world of difference for me. So that's a tip if you want to try it. I haven't heard people talk about that, and I know that helped me be able to knit with 9-inch circulars where I hadn't been able to successfully do it before. And then in a tangerine design sock bag, I've been knitting with my own yarn. This is Open Skies yarn, and it's in the On My Own colorway. And it's a colorway I'm currently working on to try to perfect because it's very rich and saturated and beautiful, but I need to like try some different dyes and see if I can get the same colors with a different dye, because I'm discovering that I've tried a whole bunch of different dyes through my dyeing, and I'm discovering that some dyes from some companies are better than others. Not all dyes are created equal, and I'm kind of learning it, so I'm going to try to, this is a colorway I'm in the midst of trying to perfect. And this is what it looks like. These are socks for my son, and the heel turned out really cutely because it's Fish Lips Kiss heel, and it kind of made wider stripes, kind of a bullseye as it got to the end. And my son's really excited for these, and the yarn is just so soft. I really like this base that I have. And so I worked on those a little bit on the weekend with my best friend, but not too much. And then one last thing before I get into the new designer for this month, for June. I thought this would be done, but it's turning out to be a lot more time consuming than I originally expected. So this is in a Fat Squirrel fibers bag that I got a few years ago. And this is the Tane Shawl by Melanie Berg. It's knit out of Quince & Co. Owl in 2 colors. And I'm really hoping, because one is light and one is a very saturated navy blue, that it does not bleed, but we're not gonna think about that right now. But it looks like, when you're looking at the pattern, like there is an applied edging, but it's not. So that's kind of why it's in the middle of, woohoo, okay. It's in the middle of the, I don't even know what to call it. They call it a panel in the pattern, but it's definitely not an applied edging, and my other yarn ball is now on the floor rolling around as I show this to you because, yes. But I finished the body of it. So let me kind of give you an idea. It's striped. It is in, I believe, worsted weight. It's on size 7. It is enormous, and there are 360, 350 stitches on this. And so you have to create the pattern, this panel along the bottom. I don't want to lose any stitches, but this panel that goes opposite the body has these long rows, and the panel forms these little almost short rows, but it's not binding off as it goes like you normally would with an applied border. It's keeping it on in a unique way that I haven't seen done before, and I'm hoping it will be stretchy enough. I'm trying to consciously make sure that I don't pull tight as I'm doing this. And so you create this panel all the way across the whole thing, and then you do something special at the end to finish it off and kind of before you combined off and everything. So it's unique because normally when I'm doing an applied, it's fun when you're doing an applied, or when you're an applied edging or whatnot, because you're like getting stuff done as you go, but there's no feeling of you're done with that portion of the shawl because you know that you still have to go back and do some magicalness at the end. But I think my husband, I was telling him how much I had to do. I believe I'm a quarter of the way done with the edging on this. So I thought this might be done this week, but it's a lot, and there's still a lot more to go on it. And since the other ball is now on the floor, I can't really put it up in the bag. Just set it beside me. And then for June, the new designer that I'm doing for this month is Thea Coleman, and her Ravelry name is Baby Cocktails. And so I was researching up on her a little bit, and she has a blog under that same Baby Cocktails, and she actually, looks like is pretty good about updating it fairly frequently. She had some in May that she had updated of this year. So if you want to check out the Baby Cocktails blog. And then I loved how she talked about how she was like, I had a career and everything, and I had kids, and she really wanted something where she could do something that this kind of her design work has turned into a part-time thing that she can do while her kids are young and in school. But she started designing in 2007, so 10 years ago. So her kids might not be young anymore, but, or probably aren't young anymore. Add 10 years to young kids, they could even be in college. But yeah, and she also said that, you know, she wouldn't be able to find patterns and stuff of sweaters that she really liked to recreate things. So she started designing her own to kind of be able to do that. And I have not knit a bunch of her patterns, but I brought down the one that I have knit to show you. And then I have a WIP of one. But this one that I have knit, and her first pattern, this is one of her earlier patterns. Her very first pattern is on Ravelry, it's free. And like I said, it was done in 2007 and it was a baby hat. But what I feel like she's really well known for is her garments, her beautiful garments. So this is the White Russian, and of course I had to knit it because it had that name, right? The White Russian is a short sleeve turtleneck garment. And I know a lot of people hate turtlenecks, but I just love, they feel so cozy when it's cold. Like bury yourself in a turtleneck. It's like my Ease sweater has a turtleneck with a drawstring, and it's just my favorite thing. So I think this sweater is amazing. I wear it, but I don't wear it in like, I feel like it's full capacity, right? As a sweater, I feel like if you're a boots gal, a gal who wears boots in the fall and maybe skinny jeans and like a long sleeve white or brown for this color one, long sleeve shirt underneath with this on top, it could be very cute. You could make it very, I guess, stylish. I just kind of wear it with jeans and flip-flops. But I knit it out of some alpaca, so it is pretty drapey and it does grow a lot. So I don't wear it all day. I'll wear it like out for a couple hours. But this is some natural alpaca, and there's the short sleeves and there's the turtleneck. You can make it long or high or fold it down. And the body has some, you can't see it too much because of the halo and just the very drapiness of this, but it has some texture to it. It's very easy texture, and it definitely requires, because of the holes of the texture, the laceness, shirt underneath, I would think. Maybe some people would wear it without a shirt underneath, but I would never ever in a million years do. But this is some alpaca that I got on a yarn crawl forever ago, and it's very soft, and it was done all there at this little tiny ranch where I get to meet the alpacas, and they had just on a shelf not really any information about it. So I'm so glad that there was enough to knit this sweater, because I remember not having much at the end, but just some giant skeins of alpaca yarn. So this is my White Russian. And it's just so soft, and honestly, it's very warm. As you can imagine, alpaca is extremely warm, and I believe, like I said, there was no information on that. There wasn't even like, this is DK weight yarn, or this is this many yards. There was no information. It was just, I think it said the alpaca's name, and that was it. So it's very warm. So I don't wear it a ton in Texas. But that's the only Thea Coleman pattern that I have currently knit. But last year, towards the end of the year, I started a Paloma, and it was a pattern that was gifted to me by my sweet friend Jess, who is Sarah Nova Crafts. And I have my Paloma sweater in my Bags by Awesome Granny. I like to call them dandy whales because they have like little hat, and they just look very dandy to me. I feel like they need a bow tie as well, but you know, maybe that, you know, on the underbelly, a little bow tie would be cute, but I just love it. And the background behind the whales looks almost this woven blue, and then inside is a very happy and cheerful polka dot yellow. So it's Bags by Awesome Granny, and she's so sweet. She's a local Texan. And then I am knitting my Paloma sweater out of some wool. This is my first time using wool in their Legacy Bulky in the Rain Cloud colorway. So it's like a lot of rain things. You put Russian, Russian, any of the languages that I, am learning, you put those on something, or you put rain or snow or any of these different things, and I'm there. So I very much am a person who associates words, certain words, with very good feelings. So rain cloud. And this is another one of those sweaters which I hope to like one day live it up to its full capacity. It's giant oversized sweater done in double seed stitch with pockets, and I just think that I need to wear this sweater. I need to rent a cabin up north somewhere in like late fall, early spring, and wear this sweater out like on a porch of like an Airbnb cabin, read books, and then go hiking in the woods in this sweater. It's that kind of sweater. It just feels so cozy. Do you ever invent stories for your sweater? I don't know. That's kind of how I'm feeling about this sweater. But yeah, that's the thing, and I better show it to you, right? So I haven't done a ton on it, but this is what I have so far. I finished the bottom band, and it is done, and then I started the double seat stitch. And these these mushrooms right here are marking spots, so they go up. It kind of has like a faux seam coming up the middle sides of the back. And it's done in pieces, and sometimes I will convert if it's done in pieces and I don't really feel like doing it. But I think because this is it's going to be a heavier garment because it's bulky weight and it's very long and oversized, and when you do things in pieces and then seam them up, it adds structural integrity to the garment, meaning that it just helps it keep its shape more than like falling over. And I took that class at the Hill Country Weavers Retreat last year from Coco Knits about seaming and finishing your sweaters and things like that, which I feel like it helped me a lot to empower me to feel that I can correctly and beautifully finish off a sweater, whereas before, seaming has always been something that I have personally, I know some people love it, personally dreaded. And now I feel good about this. So yeah, I'm excited to knit this sweater so much. My little rain cloud sweater. Ugh. I just hope someday I get to take it to a cabin and hike around the woods in my oversized cozy sweater. And I only have 2 of the skeins for the sweater in here. Like, this is going to outgrow this bag in pretty short order. Well, I guess I could, since it's done in pieces, I could, when I finish a piece, put it aside and keep working it. So that's probably what I'll do. But in my cupboard with my yarn, the skeins for this sweater are taking up a lot of room because it's bulky, and I think there are quite a few skeins for it. But yeah, that is my Thea Coleman Baby Cocktails first work in progress for this month. And a lot of her other ones that I'm going to be doing some more hats for charity. She has some just simple hats, and she has this really beautiful short sleeve DK weight top with some pretty cabling, which I'm thinking about having that's in my queue as one that I want to knit this month, or start knitting this month, because this year is just kind of, let's add all the WIPs, but at least I have plenty of options to work on. And so for spinning, Tour de Fleece is coming up in less than a month. And I was talking to my friend Dina yesterday at knitting and telling her I haven't spun in forever. And she was just like, come on, you can do it, spin. And so I'm trying to like go through my braids of fiber and think about a goal for Tour de Fleece and try to see if I can psych myself up and get excited to spin again. And maybe that will work. But yeah, I'm hoping to get back to my wheel. And then as far as enabling, there's no enabling this time. And group news. Okay, so group news. I'm always like this if I get like stressed or overwhelmed or sad. I go into organize everything and clean everything and mode. So I've been really organizing and trying to like just feel lighter in my surroundings of having, you know, less around me and have everything be in its place, and trying to get a lot of that stuff done over the summer so that going into the fall I will be able to free up a lot of that headspace and space in my life so that I can pursue some other big things that are coming up, because my daughter is going to be in kindergarten, so she's going to be in school full time. So I am kind of at this crossroads where I'm trying to think of like all these directions that I could go and where do I want to go, and it's exciting, but it's scary, you know, do I want to do I want to try to take the yarn dyeing business full time? Do I, can I, you know, make enough from that? Do I, you know, want to go back to teaching what I did before I had my kids? Do I want to go back into the nonprofit sector, which is what I've been doing for 5 years from home, working for a nonprofit? And just all these different options are open to me, and so it's exciting. And yes, I'm just trying to get everything cleaned, and while cleaning out stuff, I found some prizes that were never claimed for the podcast. So I put them in a box. This was all leading to something. I put them in a box, and I'm going to open up a thread for Box O prizes, and it's going to be a box of prizes, just like what it sounds. There's all kinds of goodies in there because I've been podcasting for almost 3 years, so a lot of times I will try to contact the person, and if they write me back, then, you know, I'll send that off to them. But if they don't write me back, because I think some people might just join Ravelry for prizes, but then they never go back on, or they rarely ever even visit Ravelry, so it's hard to even get a hold of them. But those ones, there are, you know, mini skeins, there are full skeins of yarn, there are project bags. It's, you know, it's 3 years worth of, you know, 1 or 2 every year unclaimed prizes. So I'm going to put that up in the Ravelry group, BookishStitcher podcast, and it's going to be a surprise. I'm not going to show you what's in it. And it's going to be a pretty quick one because I want to make sure that it's people that watch the podcast. And so, yeah, so if you would like to enter for that, hop on over to the Ravelry group. You have to be a member to win. And yeah, it'll be a surprise box of all kinds of goodies for you. And then I don't know what else we have. Oh, we have I forgot to draw for that. We had the Open Skies, my yarn on Etsy. We had a cow going on, and I will draw for that next time. But I think it's going to be an ongoing thing. And then just once or twice a year, probably twice a year, I will draw for somebody to win a $25 gift certificate to the store. So I'll do that next time and announce who the winner is. And then we have, like I said, the Thea Coleman knit along going right now if you'd like to join me in knitting any Thea Coleman patterns. And I think that there might be in the works a summer WIP project thing. I have to talk with some friends more about it, but like knitting up some WIPs, some lingering WIPs in the summertime, which might be fun. And I'm just excited for the summer because it feels like the summer is full of possibilities to me. My son and I like to, you know, kind of get a schedule for the days so that we don't just fall into him playing video games forever, or my daughter, you know, who knows doing what. But so we're gonna have reading time, and I told him, I was like, who do you think can read the most pages in a day? So he and I are gonna have a competition. We're gonna spend lots of time at the library. I told them that they could do 1 camp, just finances wise. You know, trying to figure out all that so they can do 1 camp. We're trying to figure out what camp they would like to do, and not an away camp, just a local one where they, you know, go for a couple hours in the day. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to learn some, like, study my languages more. I got some new language studying books that I have been really wanting to do. I got them a while ago, and I just have never gotten the chance to just really delve into them. So I'm excited to just read and knit and clean and organize and learn, like, study my languages. And it's just going to be a wonderful summer, and I'm so excited for it because it feels like all these possibilities are open to me to learn so much and get so much done during the summer. And yeah, I'm just so excited. And then speaking of the Etsy shop, Open Skies Yarn, I have some stuff that I'm going to be doing for it this next week. I know it's been a while since I've done anything, but there is a bunch of yarn up there in the shop if you would like to check it out. Get any for yourself if you want to treat yourself to something this week. And I'm treating myself to something from the shop because I love this color. I've loved it since I first dyed it. And I kept telling myself, okay, if it's not sold out, then I'm going to take one from the shop for myself and knit it up. So as soon as I get some other sock whips off the needles, I'm going to be casting on this. And this is Sabrina, and it's in my BFL nylon base. It's twist sock, and it's 400 yards. And I just think that this colorway is going to knit up so beautifully. I asked on Instagram a while ago for pattern recommendations, so I'm slowly working my way through those and trying to decide on a pattern that will just showcase the yarn because I think it's stunning. I'm very excited. It's the pinks and the blues and different shades of lighter blue and white and everything, and I'm excited to try a BFL base. I've knit with my Silky Merino base and I absolutely love that. So I'm excited. I think these will be really tough wearing socks that will last for a while. And I want to see how the colors play together. And then in the dye pots upcoming this week, I'm finally going to dye up the Summer Skies colorway. There was a competition in the Ravelry group to pick the color, and the picture that won that got the most love it's kind of a night sky, and then there's a jar filled with lightning bugs or fireflies, whichever you prefer, coming out of the jar. And so I'm trying to think of like, I think I know how I want to dye this up. I'm trying to think, what's the best way to dye technique to do this, but I think I know. I think I have it decided, and I'm really excited because I think it's going to be beautiful. I think it's going to be unusual. I think that a lot of times when people, like if you didn't know there was a contest and you just saw like Summer Skies and somebody said, describe to me what a colorway called Summer Skies would look like. People would probably think blues or reds and oranges or something, very colorful, but this is going to be like Summer Skies at night, which I think is neat because all my other seasonal sky colorways have been during the day. But I'm going to be doing that this week while doing lots of fun activities with my kids at the library and park and things like that, so it's going to be great. And then for the book this week, I have been reading poetry once a month. That's my goal, to like do a graphic novel once a month and a kid's book once a month, just so I can get 100 books done in a year. And I haven't reviewed a book of poetry on the podcast for a while, and I especially loved this one, so I thought that I would tell you about it. So the book is called 1,000 Mornings, Poems by Mary Oliver, and she was a winner of the Pulitzer Prize. And I'll just read the back really quickly and then a couple of my favorite poems. In 1,000 Mornings, Mary Oliver returns to the imagery that has come to define her life's work, transporting us to the marshland and coastline of her beloved home, Provincetown, Massachusetts. Whether studying the leaves of a tree or mourning her treasured dog Percy, Oliver is open to the teachings contained in the smallest of moments and explores with startling clarity, humor, and kindness the mysteries of our daily experience. And if you're anything like me who you hear the word nature or leaf or green and you automatically feel more peaceful and just like you can breathe, then I think you would enjoy this. So I just wanted to read a couple of poems to you. And there are some really longer ones that are beautiful, but I don't have time to do those, so I'm going to read a couple. The first one is, I go down to the shore. I go down to the shore in the morning, and depending on the hour, the waves are rolling in or moving out. And I say, oh, I am miserable. What shall I do? What should I do? And the sea says, in its lovely voice, excuse me, I have work to do. So I love that one. Kind of like nature doesn't care about your woes. And then a couple more. 1,000 Mornings. All night my heart makes its way, however it can, over the rough ground of uncertainties, but only until night meets and is then overwhelmed by morning, the light deepening, the wind easing, and just waiting as I too wait. And when have I ever been disappointed? For the red bird to sing. 2 more. I have decided, my husband's like, this one gets a song stuck in my head. I have decided to find myself a home in the mountains, somewhere up high, where one learns to live peacefully in the cold and the silence. It's said that in such a place, certain revelations may be discovered, that what the spirit reaches for may be eventually felt, if not exactly understood, slowly, no doubt. I'm not talking about a vacation. Of course, at the same time, I mean to stay exactly where I am. Are you following me? I'm not sure about the end of that one, but the part where it says to live peacefully in the cold and the silence, you had me. I was just like, oh, to live peacefully in the cold and the silence. How nice would that be? And the very last one before I end the podcast, green. Green is my sister's house. Don't you dare climb that tree or even try, they said, or you will be sent away to the hospital of the very foolish, if not the other one. And I suppose, considering my age, it was fair advice. But the tree is a sister to me. She lives alone in a green cottage high in the air. And I know what would happen. She'd clap her green hands. She'd shake her green hair. She'd welcome me. Truly, I try to be good. But sometimes a person just has to break out and act like the wild and springy thing one used to be. It's impossible not to remember wild and want it back. So, if someday you can't find me, you might look into that tree. Or, of course, it's possible under it. So, you can probably see why I absolutely loved this book. And I think it would be an amazing book to have your cup of coffee and read a poem in the morning and just smile and feel at peace, or just have a little chuckle because some of them are funny, or maybe a little tear because the one about her dog dying is very sad. And it's a great book. And you can probably see I have little water droplets on it because when I love a book, I kind of carry it around with me everywhere and it gets well loved. So I'm so glad that I have this. It was a random purchase a while ago at a bookstore and it turned out to be a wonderful one. So yeah, if you love poetry, or even if you don't tend to love poetry, I think this is easy enough to understand. It would be a great poetry book for someone who maybe thinks of poetry as hard. It's not hard. This one's not hard at all. So yeah, that is everything I have for now. Thank you for spending a little bit of time with me, and I hope you enjoyed the poems. Thank you for, letting me read those to you, or because I love reading poetry, and it's just really a fun thing for me to be able to do and share with you. And so until next time, I hope you have a great week and you get to do all the things you love. Okay, bye guys.